We need
And
theme
we are
music.
live. We are here today with the one and only Vez from the Indie Fantasy Club. He does great videos on book reviews. He also gives tips on marketing, and he's just an all around great guy with a very cool studio behind him that EL will be peppering you with questions about here soon once he gets on. But until then, how are you doing tonight, Vez?
I'm doing great. Yeah, it's been a busy day, but that's always a good thing. So I'm from Utah, so it's getting a little bit colder over here. But yeah, how about you? How are you guys doing?
We're grumpy old men.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth there. Are those real candles behind you, Vez?
No, I think that would be sacrilegious if I had real candles next to paper books.
Yeah,
And
I was going to
if
say, but
if a fire didn't kill me, my wife would. So,
well, that's
um,
always still an option. Don't
Cool.
give up on that.
Well,
that's true.
just keep in mind that Tim is plotting his world domination.
Like
So
thinking in the
that's
brain.
that's good. That means there'll be more books in the world.
Yep.
Let's see. No fluff writing. And we just talked about this backstage. What is the name of this book, and that I have to buy as soon as this show is over?
So No Fluff Writing Advice is Matt Moore's YouTube channel, where he gives a lot of good like tips and tricks and his own writing process and those types of things. But he was the author of Demonology and the Art of Pickling Demons, which ended up being one of my favorite books of 2025. Really unexpected. It was kind of the title was just crazy. So like
Yeah.
It wins our award for title of the year.
yeah, exactly. Like, so I went in kind of skeptical of it because I would say that that's not normally my type of book because it's seemed to lean into more of the humor side of things. But yeah, I just really had a good time with it. It's more of like a YA type of a book, I would say, but really friendly to all audiences. Like, I think adults would still really enjoy it. But yeah, it was just a fun book about this kid who discovers the ability. They're in a world where demons are just part of their existence. So like people get possessed all the time by demons. They're trying to infiltrate the world. And this kid accidentally discovers the ability to pickle demons as a way to prevent these possessions from happening. And then, all these different adventures ensue from that discovery. But at its core, it's a really fun read.
So like we could replace demons with the people who are very concerned about my car's warranty, and that would be great.
Yeah, exactly.
That would save me a lot of hassle during the day.
Okay.
Go
So
ahead.
since Matt has not gone through our screening process or our initiation, we don't want to talk about his stuff anymore. He has a lot of work to do before he can come on here. So tell us about your channel. What is it that you do, and why do you do this? Are you mad like us, or is there a reason?
Well, I am a little bit crazy, probably, which I'm sure people can attest to if they come to the channel. But my goal was essentially, as I was kind of looking at the publishing landscape, this was about a year ago, I just have seen that there's somewhat of a wall with indie fantasy or self-published fantasy. And there just didn't seem to be really anyone talking about indie fantasy. And or if they were, like, I just didn't know where to find it. And I think it was just an underappreciated market. And I'm a marketer, so I saw an opportunity there. So there's definitely some opportunity gaps that I recognized. But also, like, I just think that indie stories are still really good stories. They just don't have that, I guess, prestige that comes with traditional publishing. So I just wanted to put it to the test and see, like, if, these indie publishing lives up to the stereotypes of, like, oh, all indie publishing is bad and they're unreadable and there's too many grammar and all these mistakes, et cetera, et cetera. And I just came to learn over the course of this last year that, indie fantasy is its own challenge. You'll definitely, stereotypes are there for a reason. So you're definitely going to still see issues with self-publishing. But I would argue that there's just as many issues with traditional publishing that people just accept, or it just comes with the package and they don't necessarily care And then I was also just kind of tired of seeing the same 10 book reviews over and over again. I'm sure you guys have seen that as well. Like, here's my top 10 fantasy list. And it's always Brandon Sanderson, John Gwynn, Fonda Lee. Like, it's the same, like 5 authors in the traditional publishing space. So I'm like, I don't need to talk about this because yes, they're great books. I've read many of them. I really enjoy them, but I don't feel the need to talk about it because everyone else is talking about it. So yeah, that was kind of why this channel was born. It was mostly just to bring a spotlight to things that just don't really get talked about enough. And as a result, I've just been exposed to a ton of great books that I just normally wouldn't have otherwise. So I just really enjoy being able to share that with my audience. So hopefully we can grow it and kind of change the stigmas around self-publishing and kind of improve as we go.
Nice.
That is a noble quest, sir. I think a lot of it, I think just how people are consuming books now is doing a lot of that heavy lifting. And certainly people taking the craft of it more seriously. I can see when this whole thing started, back in the dim, misty vistas of antiquity, of 2008 or whatever it was, where people were just throwing up any old crap and people were buying it because it was new and different. But I think we're at that point now where, although there aren't gatekeepers, we are our own gatekeepers in a lot of ways. So now it's just muscling through all the noise, and getting your book out in front of people, and folks like you, and I'm sure Matt and others are helping do that, which is hugely appreciated. I will speak on behalf of the indie author community here.
I was going to say, you guys do a good job of that too. Like, I've seen you bring authors on and have conversations with them and do book launches and those types of things. I think that's also really helpful. Just any opportunity that authors get to kind of get exposure is great. And so I will always support channels and people who are invested in that goal, because I think we all want the same thing. We all want to kind of come together. And I think that if we kind of united behind each other as indie authors, that we would have a more unified front to kind of tackle some of these traditional publishing competitors that we have.
So when you have your audience there, I just took a peek at your YouTube channel, and you have just a couple more subscribers than we do. You're closing in on what, 3 grand now? Do you find that it's mostly authors, or do you get a lot of readers in your channel? Because I think what we see a lot in our social media space and everything, it's all authors talking to authors, which is useful, and it's a great community, etc. But it's kind of missing the marketing point.
Yeah, I would somewhat agree with you. Where I think that it has to start somewhere, right? So I think it starts with authors, and because they're coming to someone who they can look to as a beacon to shine a light on their work. So it's very natural to gain an audience base of authors to start with. But I think as you kind of develop relationships with indie authors, and show that you're not just like you're not just giving free reviews, basically. Like one of my things that I tell anyone that has a conversation with me is I'm very honest in my review. So if it's not a good book, I will be very constructive, but I will not like pretend that it's good. I will, and I say that in one of my videos, where if it's less than a 5 out of 10, I just won't do a video review of it, and I'll just give my feedback privately. But I try to be very critical, because you have to be critical to give credibility to this space. Yep. But I think that if you can do that, if you build these relationships with these authors as an initial audience, from there, they will talk about it with their friends, who are more likely to be readers and family and friends, and part of the fantasy community. So that's, I think, the snowball momentum effect, where you start with indie authors and organically they can kind of share it with their networks of people who are more likely to be non-authors, more likely to be fantasy readers. And then you can kind of expand your audience from there. So that's kind of my thinking behind it. Is up front, it's likely that you'll get more authors. But I think in the long run, I think that people will be attracted to content that features good stories. So I think it's just a matter of building that reputation and building that credibility, which is hard to do at the beginning. But I think over time, it's definitely a long-term game. Like in my head, it's like I have 5 years to go until I feel like I will be at a place where I'm comfortable in the channel. So we're very much in the foundational growing process with
How long have you been doing it?
just a year. So I started in November of last year.
See, that wasn't designed to make Mike and I feel good.
So I do have one question, and this is the only IQ question of the entire episode.
Okay.
Do you also want to write, or are you happy just to review and give feedback?
I definitely do enjoy writing. I
Do you want to publish your writing?
Eventually, yes.
Oh, you failed.
So
why would you do that?
I know it's definitely something that's been on my mind. I think that that's part of what interested me about indie fantasy, because self-publishing, I think a lot of people think is the easier path, right? Because, and in a lot of ways it is, right? Because you can just literally just publish it. But the difficulty that comes with self-publishing that many people don't understand or appreciate is the fact that now you have to do everything. You have to do your own marketing, you have to do your own publishing, your own formatting, your own cover design. Like, you are in charge of everything, which is extremely difficult. And that's on top of having a full-time job, having a family. Like, all those things really detract from your ability to write. Whereas if you get a traditional publishing deal, it's a lot of more work up front to try and get a literary agent and go through that process. And obviously you have to forfeit some control and some of your rights and some of those types of things. But then once you get through that process, then they pay you. And I mean, it depends on how much. Like, even then, it doesn't feel like a lot if you're a debut author, but at least you're getting paid, and they handle all the business side of things, so you can just focus on writing. So there are pros and cons to each, but I just feel like self-publishing, I like the control that comes with self-publishing. I like the community that comes with it. And I just like that it feels like the Wild West, where eventually I can see it overtaking traditional publishing, because I think that traditional publishing is a lot of times behind the curve, especially on trends and those types of things. Like, how often do we see traditional publishers pick up a self-published book because it's completely changing how we write? Like, cozy fantasy blew up because self-published books are like, I just want to write things that have no stakes to them, right? And you would think that wouldn't be successful. If you're a traditional publisher seeing that, it's like, this isn't going to work. So they get rejected. So they just choose to go their own route. And then it becomes a huge hit. And then traditional publishers latch onto it like vultures and try to pull it into their own system. So they're just always kind of behind the curve. And then we've recently seen that with Lit RPG, where we've always had kind of these web novels and, online forums of storytelling. And then once Dungeon Crawler Carl got popular, okay, now this is the next, storytelling technique that we kind of have to jump onto. So I just see that traditional publishing kind of is behind the ball a lot of times. But you do have to, I'm not saying that self-publishing is always great, but I just think that there's, I think they're more likely to lead the frontier of storytelling, ideas, and creativity.
Yeah, traditional, they're risk averse. So, when the Hunger Games hit it big, it was, okay, let's have 19 dystopian books about children killing each other. Yay.
Yep, exactly.
And then you don't get that again for another 20 years.
Yep. You have to wait for the next cycle, for the next book to land, for that to happen.
Yeah, it's kind of ridiculous.
I queried exactly 3 times, and I was like, this is for the birds. I'm like, I'm 2 years away from getting published. I'm like, am I going to write more in this series? What if no one wants? I'm like, you know what? I am writing more in this series. And that's when I was like, never mind, I'll do it myself.
Yeah. So tell us about your experience, because I think people that are here from my channel are always interested in like other authors' experiences with, trying to get literary agents and those types of things. So did you get responses from the literary agents? Did they give you feedback, or was it just like you got ghosted? Because I know that's a pretty universal experience for other authors as well.
For me, the three query letters I sent out, I got a response for all three. One took 3 months, one took 6 months, and one took a year.
Wow.
And I was just like, well, by the time the year, I was like, I've already published, so thanks that you're not interested. I don't know what to tell you.
Yeah, that's too
so-
long, and that's the turnaround time on all of that is just insane.
Yeah, it's it's crazy. And that's the thing, is like, I actually advocate for authors that are going to self-publish to do what is called a rapid release strategy, which is
Mhm.
basically you just do all your writing up front, and then you publish, and you have like your you can set your cadence from there. If you want to do a year gap, so you have time to do your marketing and give a chance for your work to build and those types of things, that's great. But to be forced into that kind of cadence, and where you don't have control over the momentum of your story, and you don't have control over the marketing and those types of things, I just think that traditional publishing, that's the other. I mean, again, I could go on a rant about traditional publishing, but the other issue with traditional publishing is that they expect authors to basically still be self-published. Like, they
Yep.
expect you to do your social media. They expect you to go do all your promotions. Like, they do almost nothing for debut authors. Like, okay, if you're Brandon Sanderson or, John Gwynn, if you're one of these big names that make them a lot of money, they will give you 90% of their attention, which leaves everyone else to kind of scrabble for the rest of the 10%. And so the quality of the formatting and all that, I still think is really good. But I just think that debut authors underestimate how much trad publishers will actually help them. I just don't think that they are super helpful when you're not proven in the market, and they just don't care to, obviously they want to get a return, but I just don't think they care as much for the risks that they're taking on.
Yeah, I mean, you're absolutely right. If you don't come with all of that stuff anyway, that they want their market ready made
Yep.
to sell that book, and and if they don't give you a decent advance, the amount of money they put toward marketing your book is going to be, exactly correlating with the amount of money they give you as an advance.
Yep.
So if you're not getting a year's worth of payout at the advance, don't expect them to do much in the way of marketing your book. And
Yep.
then of course you get into the whole losing the rights of, if they contract you for 3, and after the first one they say, yeah, this isn't going to work. You're screwed, right? I mean, you've
Yep.
just lost your IP unless you have it in your contract where you can buy it back, and then you're still spending money that you didn't want to spend. So what the hell was the point?
Exactly. It's crazy to me. So like, it was a lot of these issues that just turned me off to the idea of traditional publishing. I think that it's kind of an old school model, and with so many other things, there's a little bit of growing pains as people learn new strategies for growth and development. Like, we had, taxis forever, and that was the mode of requesting a ride until something disrupted the market with, in the form of Uber or Lyft or whatever, to basically change how that model works and provide an alternative for, ride sharing, basically. So I think that traditional publishing is essentially the taxi service, and self-publishing is going to become the transition model for better books. And traditional publishing will try to hold on, like I said, by trying to steal some of these successes as they blow up, because you'll get self-published books that get really popular. The SPFBO award is a prime example of this. Half of the SPFBO winners get picked up by traditional publishing. And it's because they've proven, okay, this is a good book, has a good following, has good reviews. Now we'll buy it. Now we'll put some work in. Since you've already done all the work yourself, now we'll try and help you. So yeah, I just think it's a little ridiculous.
And it's funny too, because you say the whole disruption thing. Had the big 5 at the time, publishers, when the ability to have electronic books come out, when that capability first arrived, had they really looked ahead and taken that seriously, they would still be the big 5 publishers right now, and we wouldn't be doing this, because they would have just taken over that. But they said, no, what we're going to do, because our market has always been paper books, is we are going to price our electronic stuff more than the cost of the print so we can keep the demand for print going.
Yep.
Right. And they have been on a steady decline for the last 15 years. Um, will someone with enough resources kind of finally go into that publishing space and do it correctly? If they do, then the gatekeepers are going to go up for us. So
Yeah.
I mean,
Exactly. It's
it's almost a no-win.
exactly. It's a very sticky problem, and I don't know what the solution is. Because it's just so I don't know enough about the traditional publishing industry to know the things that would need to take place to fix it. I feel like that would almost need to happen from like an insider to see like, okay, here's the problem with the business model. Like in my mind, I sometimes think like, why don't you just offer, like I think this with like film sometimes too, or like instead of paying your actors or your authors millions of dollars or hundreds of thousands of dollars up front to perform in something, why not just reduce your costs by giving them less money and then offering them a percentage of the film profits or something like that, where it's more risk for the actors or the authors, but then they're more willing to like have their skin in the game and actually try and promote it themselves and try and make it work. And I just feel like if traditional publishing and some of these like older industries did more models like that, it would actually make traditional publishing better. And you could kind of lower some of those gatekeeping barriers and just allow authors to publish more because they're less of a financial risk. And then they get more reward if it's actually like, pays off and ends up being a good thing. So if I was a traditional publisher, that's what I would do. I would say, okay, let's eliminate a lot of these issues with like literary agents and some of these barriers that are really restricting the things that we can publish. And let's, adopt some of these like print on demand strategies. And then let's just see which books work based off of their own efforts. And as they grow, they get more revenue and they kind of understand that model. So again, I don't know enough to see if that would actually work.
No, but I mean, we know enough from looking at it, right? I mean, it takes what, 12 to 24 months to get a book published traditionally, which is just freaking insane, right?
Yeah.
It should not take that long to do it. So they have to first look inward and say, okay, what can we streamline in our own processes that, does it really need to take this long and have this many people involved? Maybe we should, I don't know, call me kooky. Maybe we could do this from somewhere other than New York City, right?
Yes.
Where we could buy a freaking building rather than paying 2 months rent and cut our overhead that way because we don't need to be here anymore. But at the same
100%.
time, indies are a bit to blame for there still being a theory, a school of thought that traditional is somehow better, and you can't almost get away from it. But because indies continually undercut ourselves on price, right? I used to sell comic books once upon a time, and I had a comic book that was worth $75, but I paid like 6 cents for it, right? Because I bought just a ton of comics. And I tried to sell it at a show for $35, figuring I'll make $35, you get a sweet deal on a comic book, everybody's happy. People were very distrustful of that, right? It's like, what's wrong with the comics? Like, take a look at it. There's nothing freaking wrong with it, right?
Yeah.
So I said, screw it. And I raised the price up to like $65 and sold the thing. So by selling books for 99 cents all the time or $1.99 or whatever it is, you're telling people that this book is only worth $1.99 or 99 cents, or if you're giving it away. But I understand there are so many people involved in it. It's one of those things, right? It's like a constant juggling act. There are so many people involved in this thing. You have to make it free to get people to take it. But then you're just getting people who are saying, "Oh, it's free. I'll just download it. I might never read it, or maybe in 5 years I'll read it." But we're kicking ourselves in our own asses doing it.
Yeah, that you're bringing up a point that I have had discussions over, because I don't know the answer to that either, but I think it's worth discussing, where I used to be more firmly opposite of you on that take, where I used to think that I still probably am in this camp a little bit, but where I see the point you're making, where if value is associated with cost, so if it's a low cost, it's a low value. Lots of authors have told that to me, like in my Discord channel and stuff. I've asked this question. That's a common theme that gets brought up. One of my counter arguments to that is, I think that you first have to establish credibility, even though you're maybe losing some of that value in the beginning, and kind of not marketing yourself as super valuable. But until we change the stigmas behind self-publishing, no matter what we do or say, people will be skeptical of self-publishing. It just comes with the territory. They are just less likely to trust it. And so if we are asking people to buy our products at a premium, and they don't know who we are, they've never read our stuff, and we're self-publishing, they're just more inclined to think that it will be low quality anyway, and they're losing money on it. So like, that's my struggle, where I feel like you almost have to prove, like, get reviews and get it out there for free as much as you can until you have credibility. Once you have like a certain number of reviews, 50, 100, whatever that number is, then it's like, okay, I have this proven rating that this is a good story. Now I'm going to start charging people for it because it's worth this much, but it's almost like you're investing in yourself by having a low cost in the beginning.
But readers are changing as well, right? There's so much content of every type out there now. They don't want to wait 2 years for another book to roll around, right?
True.
Harry Potter was lucky in that it hit the market just before digital publishing was a thing, right? So people like me would stand outside at 11 o'clock at night in front of an Auditer's bookshop in England in a freaking freezing cold October rain, right? For book 5 or whatever the hell it was.
Yep.
But they don't have to do that anymore. So when we put our books on Amazon, we're not saying I'm an indie author. They look just like every other book, hopefully, if we've done the cover right. So the buyer doesn't know that it's an indie author versus a traditionally published, because nobody looks at that, right?
That's a good point. I'm
And
willing to
that
concede.
I'm not saying that you have to charge $18 for an ebook, but certainly more than $1.99.
Yeah.
So, Ro, we go back and forth because I disagree with you. And I would say, I mean, for me, I set my first books at 99 cents in a series, and then every other book after that is going to be $4.99. And if they only read the first book and nothing else, that's on me. If I did not draw you in, okay, then I get my 35 cents and let's go on with life.
That's fine if it's only the first book, Mike. That's a tactic, and that's fine.
I will also say that giving away your book for free, the ebook, costs you nothing. So if they never read it, there is no harm to you. So I'm actually, before I forget, my book Proxima Station will be free Saturday and Sunday on Amazon. So go get it. So, and I mean, again, I only write series because I was told by one person way back when I started writing, you have to write series if you do fantasy. So, yeah. And I have my one book, I'm awful at marketing. We all know this. And I have 170 reviews on Goodreads for Becoming a Druid, and I have 150 for it on Amazon. I've also given away 17,000 copies, and I'm sure 12,000 of those will never be read. But again, it cost me nothing.
Yep. I think I lean more towards that. Like, Ro, but again, I see your perspective and I respect it, which is why I think it's such a good debate to have, because I don't think that necessarily one side or the other is wrong. I think it just boils down to what you want your strategy to be. Like, if you want to be, Michael Jordan wanted his strategy to be, I'm the premier shoe, so it's going to be a premier cost. And Shaq wanted his shoe to be the most accessible shoe on the market. So like, even though the quality is probably pretty similar, there's just different strategies for how they want to go about, reaching a certain target audience. So again, yeah, I think it's very much more of a strategic discussion to see what works best for each individual author.
I think though that the underselling yourself thing doesn't matter what the product is. Um, Jeep Jeep products are notorious crap, and everybody knows it. But people still buy them because it's a Jeep thing, right?
Yep.
Um, Even like Lamborghinis and Ferraris, they're always in the shop, but
It's
it's a status thing, right?
exactly. Yep.
Wine, cigars, anything like that. You can I don't know if you've ever smoked a cigar. I have had $3 cigars that were far better than $20 cigars,
Mhm.
right? But
Yep.
people will pay way over the odds. These fucking things. Fountain pens? I have never paid more than like $120 for a fountain pen. But you
Mhm.
can easily spend 5 figures on one of these damn things.
Yep.
You mean to tell me that that $10,000 pen writes that much better? Because for 10 grand, it better do things to me that my wife won't. You know?
Exactly. Yeah.
Like, seriously, that's crazy for a pen, but people will still buy it, and they will think less of, the $100 pen because it's like, oh well, that's a cheap pen. You're not going to get whatever out of it, which is
Mhm.
bullshit.
Yeah. Well, I think that applies really well to the author industry or the publishing industry, because I feel like essentially certain authors have gained that type of status. Like Brandon Sanderson is essentially the luxury car of publishing, where even though there's issues, like people have, I haven't read Wind and Truth yet, but people, always mention some issues with Brandon Sanderson's prose, which I don't mind, but like some of his repetitiveness and kind of the simple way that he writes, like he still has issues, but he's considered like the status symbol in the fantasy community, where like if you read Brandon Sanderson, you are now part of the cool kids club. Like you can, chat with other people. You can be part of the conventions and those types of things. So, which I'm not saying is a bad thing. I love Brandon Sanderson, so I would never say anything bad to disparage him. But I just do think it's very much a status symbol in these days.
So the one thing, Ro, that I'll tell you why I don't like your strategy of everybody raise your prices, and I will give you 19 million reasons why, and that's because I just pulled up Goodreads, and there are 19,015,846 fantasy books on there. So if you set your book to $10, what's the likelihood that somebody's going to find you out of 19 million? So that's why you do it for free, so that people will take it. Most of them will never read it, but again, I don't care. It does not hurt me. And that's why I do my books for free. This year I'm actually down. I will probably end up giving away only 3,000 books for free this year, which would be my least since my first year. But I mean, you got to do something to get reviews, and then you got the buy-in that, hey, this is worth something. Because if they took it for free, trust me, they do not feel they need to give you 5 stars if they got the book for free. That is not a thing. I can guarantee you that.
Yeah, I certainly don't feel that way. I get books sent to me, and like I said, I warn them. I'm like, I'm very honest with these reviews. So if it's not good, it's not good. But yeah, that's definitely a thing. But I do like also what you said earlier, Mike, about writing series. That's one of the things that another issue that I have with traditional publishing is they always want you to write a standalone that could maybe be a series. That's so annoying to me. Let me tell you why. With fantasy in particular, so often we are doing so much world building. We are building a different setting, scene, characters for the readers to dive into. That takes a certain level of investment from us as readers to learn. We have to learn about this world. We have to learn about the magic. We have to learn about the politics. Like that takes effort. So the learning curve is a lot higher. When you have a series, you've already accomplished the reading curve or the learning curve, and now you can just enjoy the rest of the books of the series because you already know the mechanics of the world. But if it's always a standalone, like it's like starting from scratch every time you start a new book, and it's so frustrating. Like,
especially when you get people who say, you have to get my attention in the first paragraph. Well, you know what? If I have to build a world around everything, the first paragraph is not going to be super uber exciting, because I, for one, hate it when I'm dumped into the middle of something going on right away and I don't know who anybody is, who I'm supposed to be, any of that kind of nonsense. So I'm fine with it taking some time. But I want to mention this. Okay. High prices make sales and giveaways all the more impactful. This is borne out by, it was either J.C. Penney's or Bed Bath & Beyond. And I realize Bed Bath & Beyond is out of business now. I get that. There was a time, may have been about 10 years ago. I always think it was a couple years ago, but it was always a lot more, where a new CEO came in and said, you know what? We keep running all these sales all the time. Let's just stop that shit and lower our prices, right? And their sales went down because it's perceived value, right? With the 20% off coupon, people perceived that they were getting a better deal on something and spent more money at that store, despite the price eventually being the same as what it was without the 20%, right? So they raise the price a little bit, take off a bunch, and people feel they're getting value for money.
Yeah.
So if the traditionally published ebooks are $12 and $15, which they are, and if indies price their books at like $4.99, $5.99, it's not so cheap that it's questionable quality, but it's cheap enough to provide a perceived value over the $20 book.
Well, again, so my issue with that is that I think that consumers have just way more access to information nowadays. Like for TikTok, for example, has always showing like, okay, they're saying it's 20% off, and then, or this is our Black Friday sale, and they move the tag and it's the exact same price. So I feel like a lot of times people nowadays, especially with like higher costs, inflation, the economic standings of things, they are more willing to appreciate lower costs just because of just how expensive everything has gotten. Like In-N-Out used to be, $3 for a cheeseburger. Now it's like $7. McDonald's used to have a $1 menu. Now it's the $3, $4, $5 menu. So I think that a lot of times, like, yes, it can be associated with value, but I also think people in, circumstances like these appreciate it when they get a break from just the exorbitant costs of everything. But again, that there's still the argue of value. Like it's
a great argument and it's a lot of fun. But Mike's been sitting there very patiently waiting to say something.
So I would just say a lot of it depends on what are you gunning for. Like for me, I would give away 100,000 books tomorrow if I could. If that means that 6 years from now, people know who I am, and when I publish a book, they care.
Yeah.
My time horizon is 10 years from now. Where do I want to be? And to do that, you have to build a base. And if that means I have to give a free copy to everyone in the U.S., if I could find a way to hack people's computer and do it, I would do it. But I'm not tech savvy, so that will never happen.
You had a caveat in there, though, Mike, and that was, I'll give away 100,000 books if I can do that. There's no guarantee that giving away 100,000 books is going to do anything for you.
Well,
selling 100,000 books is.
I have given away almost 20,000 books, and again, I have 170 reviews on Goodreads and 150 on Amazon. And if I knew how to market, I'd have 5 times that.
Well,
all right. Teach us how to market. You have 22 minutes. Go.
Oh, geez. Yeah. Listen, I'm not good at marketing either. I just I know the mechanics of marketing because that's my day job, but I don't even do business to consumer marketing. I mostly do business to business. But like, because of my experience with marketing, like a lot of things transfer over, I feel like, to all industries. So, I think there's no, golden bullet that will work for every author. And I think that's the challenge, and the thing that can be disheartening is when you hear an author interview, or if you see a success story that's like, oh, I used Amazon ads, or I did Facebook ads, or I did an email campaign. Like, okay, like that's great. I did that and I got nothing. So what does that mean for me? So it's hard to say, like, here's the marketing strategy that will solve your problems. So I try to give my audience, I have a marketing video on my channel where I try to give them a wide array of, like, try to do all of these different things, see if anything sticks, see what gets a better reaction. And I would pursue those channels more. So when I was starting the Indie Fantasy Club, I tried a ton of different channels. So I have a TikTok where I wanted to see if maybe short form content was more digestible, if they wanted to just get quick snippets of books. I obviously started a YouTube channel, and I just enjoy that more, which is why I don't really care what the results are as much with YouTube, because I just like making those videos.
I think people who are willing to read a book are willing to watch a video
Yeah.
longer
So
than 15 seconds. Yeah.
exactly. And I tried a bunch of other channels like, Facebook, Twitter, and I hated posting on them, and I didn't really get a ton of traction. So it's a combination of like, what's going to burn you out? If you hate doing something and it's going to burn you out, don't do it, because you're going to hate your life. You're going to hate you're not going to want to write anymore, because you're going to dread having to do the marketing. So like, as soon as I figured out like, oh, I have never really used social media. So social media, even though I'm 30, but I feel like I'm, old sometimes, because I don't really use a lot of this technology stuff. But so getting onto these platforms for the first time in a lot of cases, like Instagram and not Facebook, Instagram and Twitter, I'm like, I don't know how these platforms work, and I hate being on them. So I'm not going to do this. I'm done. But I liked making TikToks. I liked making YouTube videos. And I recently started posting on Reddit. And Reddit gets tons of traction when I post things. I'm like, hey, these are my favorite books that I read. I posted that the other day. It got like 500, votes or whatever. And the authors that I recommended in that post are getting sales for their books. Like they've reached out and said, hey man, I've seen an uptick in my stuff. So Reddit seems to be like a channel that gets more like people that are actually interested to commit to an action. Whereas TikTok, you're not going to get anything there. That's just driving views and building brand. YouTube is like 50-50. But like, I feel like it's all about just experimenting, testing the market, seeing what works. And there's just so many different marketing channels. And that's the other thing, is marketing can be super overwhelming, because there's just so much that you can do. And so a lot of times I just tell authors to just start small, try a few things, and start early. Start a year before you publish your book. Start thinking about marketing. So often I get book submissions from authors, and they're like, hey, I am publishing my book next week. Will you give it a review? And I'm like, I have 100 books in my queue. Like, I can't bump you to the top of the list. I have to go in order. And I have a lottery system, so it does kind of give some people a chance that are further on the list. But like, you can't, especially, and I'm a small creator. Like, if you're reaching out to someone like, Murphy Napier or Daniel Green, who have hundreds of thousands of subscribers, there is no way they're going to get to your book in a week. There's no way. So you have to think about years in advance. Like, okay, I have a year to write this book. I'm going to start marketing the concepts of this book. And that, again, this goes into rapid releasing. If you have all your books written, you know that you can publish at a certain schedule. You know what to market towards. And it makes things a lot easier, so you can just focus on the business. But yeah, that's my rant about my quick little rant about marketing. So
No, I mean, I think one of the things that we're missing in all this, and I've heard other people say kind of what you've said too, is that there are so many different social media channels. Don't try to do them all. Find one you like and enjoy doing, and just do that one, and just do it well.
yep.
And don't worry about all the rest. But the thing that we're not considering here is the one priceless kind of thing, is time. Most indie authors have a job because we like living in a house and eating on a regular basis, kind of thing. So when you have a job and you're trying to write and maybe raise kids or whatever it is, have a YouTube channel, something has to fall through the cracks. And the easiest thing to fall through is the marketing. Because, like, you know what? I'll write my books and I can freaking market when I retire. Then I'll have 20 books done, and I'll have the time to figure all this shit out, because it will change 3 more times between now and then. So, it's I actually looked at that a few years ago when I was just first starting to get my first book or two out. I was listening to a lot of podcasts and seeing what people said. And at that point I said, there's just so much to learn here. And I'm not averse to learning, believe it or not. But I also have only X amount of hours in a day.
Yep.
So I either give up the writing, which then makes the learning this other thing pointless, or, give up the family, which will cost me a lot more in the end than I'll ever make
Yes.
writing.
I can't tell
So
you how often my wife turns to me and she says, "You have too many hobbies. You need to start figuring out which hobbies you want to keep." Because I'm
how
like,
long you
okay,
been married, Bess?
uh, it's been 7 years, so
7. Okay.
long enough that I want to keep things going. So
Well,
I agree with her sentiment.
the wife and I come up on 35 on Monday.
Oh wow, congrats.
And yeah, thanks. I congratulate her, not me. It's been easy for me. Um, and what you're going to hear probably in about 20 more years is this. You need to find some hobbies so that when you're done working, you're not in the house all day, every day.
Yeah, that's
You know,
fair.
you need
But I
to
feel like at
cultivate
that
some
point
shit to do that gets you out.
but I feel like at that point they have a bunch of projects, like a list of to-dos that they hand to you. They're like, okay, the garage needs fixed and this needs cleaned and the house
Oh,
needs
that all
painted.
happens anyway. That doesn't wait. That's day to day.
So I want to circle back real quick and actually take up Rose's side in the argument for a second.
Okay.
Holy shit, really?
For perceived value,
Bringing people together.
Wow.
if you've watched the show, you know I'm going to mention James Maxey because I always do. I just did a Comic-Con with him, and he has his series of books, 4 books. He's like, I have the first book in hardback, which is window dressing. I also have it in paperback, but I don't show it. That's like the last thing I'll mention. You can buy it cheaper than the hardback. He goes, but it's a completed series. So then I'll say, I have the completed series compendium for $50 in hardback. I have it for $35 in paperback, and I have this beautiful illustrated hardback edition with faux leather for $100.
Mhm.
And he sells 1 million of the soft and hard cover for 35 or 50. And he's like, it cost me $12 to print. I'm selling it for 35. Better margin than anything else. So again, perceived value. He has the $100 beautiful thing. He has the 50, the 35, and then he has the window dressing $20 for one book that no one buys because you can get 4 for 35 or
Yep.
4 for 50. So yes, I mean, if you're talking the immediacy of like Comic-Con where it's you make the sale or you don't, it's over, then yes, absolutely, perceived value is king. But I mean, if you're trying to do a career and you're like, for instance, EL, who's not here tonight, so we're going to have to yell at him for that. But anyway, he's the one who always says, my goal is to be profitable 10 years from now.
Mhm.
And he puts out a book every 3 weeks. So, he'll have 160 books by, end of next year or something. Anyway, that's just me griping. I think he has the time horizon right. 10 years, I want to be profitable. Until then, I'll try just about anything to get there. But if you're talking Comic-Con, absolutely have some. That's the one thing James told me. He goes, Mike, your biggest problem is you have 3 series and none of them are finished. So you can't offer any deluxe editions or anything like that. You need to finish a series. And dummy me, my series are going to be 5, 6, and 7 books. So I'm hoping by 2030 I will have 2 of the 3 finished.
Yeah, well, I think that is that's a marketing strategy in and of itself. There's this thing where in marketing you'll have a pricing table for whatever product you have, and there will be 3 tiers. And the first tier is relatively cheap. The second tier is kind of a little bit more expensive, and the third tier is just a little bit more expensive than the second tier. So that like the psychology of it is like I might as well get this like really nice package rather than get this like other one. So there's definitely ways to like game the psychology of your marketing. And I think like you said, having finished packages, and not just finished packages, but like having options does allow people to make that choice. Like, okay, if you're going to be a cheap person that doesn't have a lot of money, here's the ebook for a cheap cost. And then if you want then you can have your hardbacks, your paperbacks, your box sets as a more expensive version, so that you do have that value still associated with it. And like you said, Ro, it seems like a deal when you have a cheap ebook because everything else is expensive. So maybe that's the compromise of the discussion.
There's a lot of car analogy in there too. Because anybody who's ever bought a new car, you've got the standard version, you have the EX version, the LX version, and then the limited version, And what Maxi is doing is he's making all of those versions, right? And once you get into the limited version of something, if it's really nice and you like it, it's really hard not to get the limited version the next time, right? It's
Yep.
really hard to get into a car without a heated steering wheel and heated seats. You know, you can live
Yes.
without the sunroof, but that comes as part of the package, blah, blah, blah.
Yep.
And in the 80s, GM was in huge financial trouble. And so the chairman of GM just made a decision. We are going to create this, they called it the K car. And the Dodge version was like the Shadow or something, but it was the Chrysler K car. And he said, they didn't say this outright, but this is what they told people basically. This is a piece of shit car. It's going to last you about 5 years. You'll be lucky to get 100,000 miles out of it, but it's only 15,000 bucks, right? And they sold a freaking metric shit ton of those.
Yep.
Right, and got themselves out of bankruptcy and all that. And I always wonder, how come they still don't make that car? Right? They sold so many of them.
Great. That car would do great in today's society.
Oh my God!
You give someone a cheap car like that, that would get gobbled up. Who cares if it only lasts a few years?
I bought one of those. I went into the dealership and said, "Give me 4 tires and a steering wheel, man. I don't care."
Yes.
It didn't even have a radio in it.
Yep.
Yeah.
I'm not a car person, so I always go for like the most basic car that there is. Gets me from point A to point B. I've had the same car for like 10 years, and I'm going to get
you're only 30, my friend.
I'm going to get the exact same model as soon as that car dies. So like,
no, you're not when you're 50.
So it'll be the next car then. The next car will last me 10 years. And
one of those days you're going to get out of that car and going to go, damn, it hurts to get out of this car. What the hell is that about? You're going to look at a little sports car and you're going to just sit in one because now you have the resources to buy one, and you're going to creak getting into it. And then you're going to like have to turn yourself around to get out of it and crawl out of it and say, nope, not for me.
Yep. I agree with you there.
Sorry, but that day's a coming.
So
enjoy your 30s.
To get out of the controversial thing, since we have controversial content, Ro, it only took us 2.5 years.
We're having a good conversation for the first time.
It's the closest we've got to controversial because we're normally just goofballs.
I'm just eating my yogurt here. Sorry.
So, how many book reviews do you do a year?
Well, this was my first. So that's the other thing. I just barely got back into reading. That's another part of my story where I read fantasy when I was in high school, and then, life catches up with you. You kind of lose track of time. You get busy with other things, and COVID hit, and I was like, man, I need a hobby. I need to figure out something to do. So I started to get back into fantasy, and that's when I started with, Brandon Sanderson got me back into fantasy, which is why I have high respect for him. Like Mistborn was the reason that reignited my passion for it. And I read, a whole bunch of the popular series after that. And so this year, I just wanted to read indie fantasy exclusively. And I read 40 books, which I feel like I'm a slow reader. So I want to try and get that up to 50 for this next year. Because some of those were just DNFs as well. I probably DNF'd maybe, 5, 6, 7 books this last year.
Not per month like me.
Yeah, no, I'm not. I always try to give a fair chance to the books that I read. So I will read at least the first. I can usually tell if it's going to not be something that is for me or that has issues within the first 5 chapters. So I always try to give at least 5 chapters of leeway. And if it's still having consistent issues, then I will typically make a decision whether or not I want to keep reading, because obviously I have a long queue to get through. I want to respect the authors that submit to me. I also want to respect the books that I'm reading and give them a fair chance. So yeah, I read probably maybe 3 or 4 books a month. But yeah, trying to vamp that up. But yeah, life is busy. So
yep.
So yeah, it's hard to do, but it's also a lot of fun. So I wouldn't do it if I didn't enjoy it. So it's a good problem to have.
It is kind of amazing because, I mean, even marketing this show, right? If Mike or I were smarter, and I understand it's a very low bar, but and if we were I think if we had more time, right, what we should do really is be cutting out 30-second snippets of this show every time we do it and throwing it on TikTok
Yep.
or something, right? And we both know that, right? There's no disconnect there. We understand that's what we should be doing, but it's like, well, now, we got to take the time to do it, and
Yep.
that's just a drag.
That's what I'm
So-
saying. If you don't like it, like
It's not that you don't like it. It's just that,
Well, sometimes I don't like it. I'll speak for myself. Sometimes when I make a video, I'm like, I do not want to have to make a separate TikTok or like try and parse up this video to be formatted for TikTok. So sometimes I just won't, and I won't post on TikTok for a month. And then I'll be like, okay, here's something I want to talk about, and I'll post. But yeah, I just try to keep it so that but you're right. Like if you want to grow a business or a channel or whatever, it does require some degree of sacrifice, some degree of effort. And it's not always fun, but it's the pros and cons, how you want to
maybe
weigh your time.
maybe if Mike makes another pledge
Once
to
Mike-
get a
once Mike
tattoo on
becomes-
his head.
Once Mike
Well,
becomes a millionaire from all the books he's given away,
Yeah.
then
That's right.
Yeah.
then you can use that to fund the channel, and you can focus on the different growing strategies at that point.
So I do just want to point out that when we started, we were doing edited videos, and the one person said, I've been editing video for decades. I'll do all the video editing. So when he says we're not putting on TikTok, one of us is still doing all the scheduling. One of us is still making all the thumbnails. So yeah, we just don't want to do it.
You're doing a hell of a job of it too.
You're royalty, apparently.
Very well appreciated.
I do have a question for you, though, before
Yeah.
we go. Very important question, and I don't
Okay.
want to try to influence you in any way.
Okay.
So the question's going to be retired, Rose. So, I got to ask it. I want you to envision you're going down the main drag of your city street, main drag of your city.
Okay.
You are in a saddle. Now, in this saddle, you are on either a T-Rex or a Griffin. And I don't want to try to, in any way, convince you to go one way or another. But which one would you choose? And you have
do
to
not
open
a
your
machine
eyes.
gun in this scenario.
I would choose. Oh no, you're not gonna like my answer. I would choose a Griffin for sure.
Oh,
But listen, winged
time.
winged mythical creatures are my weakness. So if you have phoenixes, griffins, anything like that in your story, I have a weak spot for those types of characters. I have winged creatures all over my backdrop. This thing is winged, dragons, gargoyles. So yeah, like you were coming in at a disadvantage with that question because wings will always win.
Don't let him try to BS you. Like 95% of the people say Griffin just like that. So he's trying.
That's fair.
If someone
That's my
wanted to
marketing.
send you a book
Mm-hmm.
to review, and I'm going to ask this question knowing that it's going to open floodgates for you. Would you
Do you think
prefer
we have
a
that many
printed
viewers?
copy or an e-copy? And where do they send it?
So for now, I'm prioritizing physical copies just because I know it costs people to send physical copies of their books. It's more of an investment. You'll see this shelf here is my TBR. So these are all the submitted books, physical copies that have been sent to me that I have to read. These are the ones that I've read. So I do prioritize those, but also like I'm balancing first come, first serve, but also the investment that authors make. So I also have a lottery system. So I'm kind of mixing things up and trying new things as I'm growing the channel and growing these submissions. So that's kind of how I feel. I'm always happy to get an ebook as well, because again, I know the costs it takes to be an indie author. So I never want to discourage someone from submitting if they can only submit as an ebook. I have a big audience in Australia for some reason. So I don't try to make them send me a copy if it's too expensive. But so that's the basis there. And then I usually have people just email me at the indiefantasyclub@gmail.com. And they can just tell me a little bit about their book. and I can kind of tell them more details about where they're at in the queue. I can tell them what to expect from my reviews so that we have good communication right off the bat, good expectations. I also am setting up a form on my website. If they want, if that's easier as well, that also just gets redirected to that email. But yeah, that's how people can submit to me. I have it on my YouTube channel, my email listed, and I have it on my website. So yeah, lots of ways to get the stories to me.
So I have one suggestion for you that it's mostly serious.
Let's hear it. Yeah, I'm happy to improve any way that I can.
Tell everyone you just mood read, then you can do whatever the hell you want, and you don't have to explain.
See, if I mood read, I feel like I miss out on opportunities to discover new things. Like, I've been so surprised by books I would never pick up. Urban fantasy, I didn't think I liked, and it was two of my favorite books were urban fantasies this year. Humor, I didn't think I liked. I liked a bunch of humor. The only thing that didn't really surprise me was cozy fantasy. Ended up not liking cozy fantasy at all, which kind of fell within what I expected. But it's just kind of fun, you know, to discover new books, new stories. So like if I only mood read, I would only read epic fantasy, which I love, but I would feel like I'd miss out on a lot of other cool stories out there.
Well, I mean, you can still keep your whole process. Just tell them you mood read, and then you don't have to explain.
Okay. Yeah. I see. Gotcha.
Or
okay.
you could get your 50s and just be like, I'm going to do what I want. Deal with it. You know, shrug. You're done.
That's true. I might get to that point. So we'll see.
Can't hear you, Ro. At least I can't. Can you hear Ro?
Yeah. No, I no audio from Ro.
Oh, wow. The best part of the show, and we're getting ready to leave.
How about now?
All right, we can hear you. He's back.
Okay. Yes, you're back.
You're going to need more shelf space, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
I know. And people were very concerned about the bowing, but I did put in a central bracket to each of the shelves, so they should be somewhat stable. But yeah, we'll make room if we have to.
I like the purple drapes too. I think you need a black light in there.
I should. Yeah. The purple was voted by my audience. I gave them a bunch of different colors when I redid my studio at 1,000 subscribers. And they chose purple. It was either purple or red, but purple won by 1 vote. So they don't get to revote on my backdrop until we get to 10,000. So that's the agreement I have with the subscribers. So
hey, Ro, that's kind of crazy.
He's been watching this for 5 years.
That's twice as long as we've been doing it, but okay.
Really lonely the first 3.
Ro, but I was just going to mention he actually, you know, interacts with his fans and actually takes advice from them. Should we do that, or should we just continue doing what we're doing?
Our fans are idiots.
Well, old dog, new tricks, you know, I don't know. I'll get there at some point, you know. For now, I'm still flexible a little bit.
Our fans are awesome. The fact that they keep showing up just surprises me each and every episode. It's like, wow, they're back.
Yeah.
And just so you guys know, I am going to, I have a plan in my upcoming videos to do shout outs of other channels that do, you know, things for indie authors. So I am planning to do shout outs for you guys, your channel. There's a few others that I have listed out that are small, but I feel like are doing good things for the community. So hopefully, you know, we can help build these channels and get the word out more. Cause I feel like if we work together to kind of be voices for this community, I think that we can start to, you know, build something special and do good things for self-publishing. So
yeah, and I think as a reviewer, you probably get a lot more readers on your channels. The reviewing channels seem to do really well subscription-wise.
Yep.
So if during your shout out, you could just, you know, let them know that they can meet authors there and ask authors questions.
Yep.
Send a few over here, you know, when you're not on.
I know for sure that authors will take you up on that, and readers will be interested in seeing the authors that they enjoy. Because again, a lot of these authors just don't get chances to talk about their books or to have interviews. And if you like a book from someone, you know, they want to be able to connect and get to know that person that's creating this art. So I think it's a good natural process. We can pass off the authors to you and have you have a chat with them and introduce their work. And I think it's a good fit. So
I will just tell you that So as of now, there is not a single person that we have turned down for an interview. So if you ask, we will interview you. And I know the floodgates of all 13 people watching are going to ask us now, but
yeah, it'll keep you busy, so that's a good thing.
And actually, I just did an interview last night with Rod. His channel, Relax and Chat, is aptly named. I mean, just puts you at ease in like 13 seconds, and you just chat, and he's like, "Okay, that's been 40 minutes," and you're like, "Really?" Great
Yeah, those are
channel.
great.
He needs it.
Love it.
Yeah, we'll have to have you back on again, Vess. This has been all 13 of you at the same time. Only 6 of you can be on camera, though. So, well, maybe we should do a fantasy feud with folks from the chat.
Why do you keep mentioning that? I keep trying to. Yeah, we'll get to that next time.
Yeah,
and
because we did it twice, and it was a lot of fun. And you've got
it was
the
a lot of
questions.
work for one of us. One of us was the MC. The other one was a lot of work.
What are you trying to tell me, Mike? What are you saying? You saying I'm not pulling my own weight here?
Oh God, no! You have to talk to people. I just come in with those stupid questions every now and then.
You always need the technical support and then the extrovert, the introvert and the extrovert. That's the best combo that you can find.
One of us is IT, one of us is customer support.
That's right, exactly.
All right, Celebrity Jeopardy. I'll take Ashwords for 600, please, Alex. Anyway, all right. Vess, thank you very much, man. That was fun. That was a quick 66.
I know that went by fast. It was great chatting with you guys. Like it felt very conversational. It's nice to just talk fantasy and talk strategy and talk self-publishing. I don't get opportunities to do that a lot. So it was kind of fun to just kind of talk about wherever the conversation took us. So I really appreciate you guys having me on and kind of allowing that conversation to flow. And it was a lot of fun.
I am going to, on another tab right now, I'm at Indie Fantasy Club, and I'm going to hit this little button and bring you up to 2,180 something subscribers. So I would suggest that everybody else do the same. Go check it out and click the little button. Don't cost nothing. And if you haven't done that here with us, please do that too.
Yep. Be sure to subscribe if you're here from my audience. Like I said, these guys are clearly doing good things for authors. So be sure to support their channel and let's help them grow as well. If you're here from the Indie Fantasy Club.
And for once, Ro, I'm prepared. Our next show will be Monday on your anniversary.
Yeah, I don't know if I'm going to make it.
We will have Russell Carroll. It'll be 7 p.m. He has 2 books out. And yeah, he does a lot of YouTube videos where he walks and he talks. So maybe he'll even sit down for us. Who knows?
Cool. I actually will be here for that because I won't be at home because I'm up here in DC. So, all right. Okay. We'll see you all Monday.
Yep. Thank you. The only thing left to do is wave awkwardly and wait for YouTube to end the stream because it's not